Gotta give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
Yes. Tony, and DJ Quick. You didn't think we could flip it on your ass, huh? Something for the dance floor. In a real way. It's going down like this forever and a day. Ha. Now what you hear is not a drag, cause Mr. DJ Quick got a brand new bag. But first I got a bang bang, a boogie for the boogie to the rhythm of the ghetto-y streets. Check it out now, you trying to give me some 8-ball, but no way. I'd rather have a mimosa with Cristal and OJ. Yeah, just a little something bubbly and tingly to have me walking around naked. But wait a second.
The function zone around midnight. What time is it? Are you inside? Available to come and play? Give me a clue so I don't have to look for you. Come on, let's get down, let's get down, let's get down. Come on, let's get down. Come on, let's get down, let's get down, let's get down. Come on, let's get down, let's get down.
Yeah. Now we don't need a club, we can do it at my house. My front door's open so homies get busted out. And ladies, if you come and leave your children at the nursery so you get slow on the anniversary. Feel me, I dip, dial. So don't be looking stupid when I unfasten your bra. You know you wanna mac this because I come stronger than the IRS whenever you done got the link one on your taxes.
Now here I am,
Yeah.
staring at you.
Welcome to Areva Martin in real time.
You need one too.
I'm your host, special guest host Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's KBLA 1580, where we're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down. Big shout out to Raphael Sadiq. It's his birthday today. There we go. Man, y'all remember Raphael Sadiq? And he's still putting out some fantastic music and still doing his thing for the culture. There it is, there it is, there it is. So happy birthday, brother Raphael Sadiq. Man, we got a great show for y'all today. Of course, as I mentioned yesterday, that we're just doing our part to hold it down for our sister Areva Martin in real time as she's taking care of herself and her things that she needs to do. I'm taking care of the business being with you and doing all that we can to make sure we keep you informed and enlightened about what's going on in our city, our country, and what's going on in the world around us. So I want y'all to tune in. A couple of side things. Make sure y'all stay tuned to all of the things that we're doing here at KBLA 1580. Go to our website today at KBLA1580.com. Make sure you download the app for free at KBLA 1580. Also follow us on social media at KBLA 1580. Also follow yours truly for the real Farajii on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also find on the X platform. But more importantly, follow my sister Areva Martin. Follow her. Follow her and make sure y'all check her out, the great work that she's doing. Follow her and make sure y'all connect with her, connect with me, connect with all of the great voices we have here at KBLA 1580. And we thank you so much for your support. Man, let's get into it because tonight we got a great show for you. A couple of things that we are keeping our eyes on. First, this is the week. On Friday, it marks the actual day. But this is the week where we are honoring and acknowledging the 70th anniversary of that historic Brown versus Board of Education decision that came down from the Supreme Court on May the 17th. And 70 years ago, 1954. And so using that as a backdrop today for our conversations, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. But again, this is the actual day is Friday, but there were some words that were given and said by Attorney General Merrick Garland earlier today, along with Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona, as the Biden administration held an event in honor of those students who had to walk that walk. And it wasn't just the students in the Little Rock, Arkansas, all over the country. Black students had to, and I'm talking about black children, y'all. Black children had to bear the brunt of being the trailblazers for the educational system here in America. I want to kind of put that on your mind, that this wasn't about policy at the time. We were trying to push policy, create new policy. But the real trailblazers of this part of the movement fell on the shoulders of black children. I want to say that again. The real trailblazers for this part of the movement fell on the shoulders of black children. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Also today, primary day, election day, in 3 states, West Virginia, Nebraska, and in my home state of Maryland, they have some big races happening today, and it should be almost the time of the polls will be closing. So for those who are listening to us in those states, I hope you had a chance to go out and vote. These local elections, not the national, this is the primary elections, but these local elections are just as important as the national election, if not more important, because you feel the brunt of it. I'm a huge proponent. Like you can take your stand on, this upcoming presidential election, but these statewide elections, these city elections, you need to be there for it, folks. You need to be there for it. So make sure, I hope that for those in the states of West Virginia, Nebraska, and Maryland, that you went out and registered and voted and got more engaged in the process. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, I got to let you know that we are streaming live on KBLA 1580 on our YouTube page. So just go to YouTube and you can see the video feed of the show. Look, I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to be joined by Democratic strategist Chris Walton, who's going to talk to us about 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, talking about the primaries and so much more. We're getting started. It's just starting to get cooking in here, y'all. So make sure you stay tuned. It's Areva Martin in real time here on KBLA 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union Symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one.
Let's bring them back.
Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count pack.
1 in 3 children born today will get diabetes. This sad prediction by the Centers for Disease Control will come true if millions of Americans don't improve their lifestyles, especially by changing what they eat, how much they eat, and how active they are every day. Every 23 seconds, another American gets diabetes. Stop diabetes before it starts. To learn more, contact the American Diabetes Association or download our free diabetes education programs at learningaboutdiabetes.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, this is special guest host Farajii Muhammad sitting in for our sister Areva Martin, and this is Areva Martin in real time. And we are just getting into the conversation, folks. A couple of big things that are on the agenda for today's show. One is the 70th anniversary of the Brown versus Board of Education. That day actually takes place on Friday, this Friday, May the 17th, 1954, 70 years ago to that day. There was a monumental decision that was made that brought us closer to what many thought would be educational equity, inclusion, which was that decision to desegregate the schools. But there was so much more that had to be done, even though the Supreme Court made that major decision. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, I'm going to be checking in with Democratic strategist Chris Walton as we talk about those 3 primaries that are happening in the state of Nebraska, West Virginia, and Maryland. And I would love to hear what you got to say on this, folks. So make sure you go to KBLA 1580 on our YouTube page, post your comments, and we'll do our part to bring you into the discussion as well. Let me go to our very special guest who has been doing this type of work of being a strategist for 2 decades now. He has worked in local, state, and federal election campaigns. He's born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and that's big shout out to Milwaukee, one of the areas that we have the illustrious Tavis Smiley show is airing there in Milwaukee right now. So one of the markets that we were able to pick up there from KBLA 1580. And he serves as the chairman of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County, breaking barriers as the youngest county party chair in county history. So I want to welcome now to the airwaves here on Areva Martin in real time, my brother Chris Walton. Chris, thank you so much for joining me once again. How are you today?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
I'm good. Let's first talk a little bit about this situation with this election campaign. This is you got 3 states right now that are having these primaries. So we're talking about Nebraska, we're talking about West Virginia, we're talking about my home state of Maryland. Let me start with Maryland. This is a Democratic state. The Baltimore, my hometown, is a Democratic city, but there has been some changes in that over the past few years with the election of Governor Larry Hogan, and other Republicans who have been able to kind of break through the wall of the blue wall there to get through and do their part for the state of Maryland. Now we're at a new place. We have Maryland has Governor Wes Moore there, first Black governor of the state. Then we have in the city of Baltimore, we have a Black mayor, Mayor Brandon Scott, who is actually his election, the mayoral election, is happening there today, along with the Senate election. In the Senate election, we're talking about County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, as well as 3-term Representative David Trone, the Republican. They're going against one another. What do you make of the situation in Maryland, Chris?
Well, I think that the situation is I think if you look at the state of Maryland right now, the state of Maryland is a very good spot. It's one of the richest states in the country. It's one of the blackest states in the country. It has a more diverse situation than most states. You know, look at gorgeous Prince George's. This is in Charles County. These are the richest black counties in America. Maryland is very well positioned for the 21st century. But if you look at the congressional delegation, it looks like it's well positioned for the 19th century. The whole delegation is men, mostly white men, but the entire delegation is men, be it U.S. Senate, members of the House of Representatives. I think, myself personally, I want to see Angela Brooks win because I would love to see a black woman in the United States Senate.
Yeah.
The fact that we have to literally still count, we can still count on one hand how many black women have served in the U.S. Senate, let alone served at a time. You know, we had former Vice President and California's own, or current Vice President and former California U.S. Senator Kamala Harris.
Yep.
And we have, you know, upcoming Lisa Blunt Rochester, who'll be coming out of Delaware. I think she needs a partner in the Senate. I think Angela Brooks is going to win, but it's going to be a good fight. David Trone is a very well-known man. He has a lot of money. He's the founder of Total Wine. I don't know about yourself, but I have visited this place a few times in my day. He has the money to put forward to fight in this race. And so I'm not sure how this is going to play.
Hey, you're talking about money, $61 million that he has taken from his own account to put into his campaign. And there's a lot of conversation right now, Chris, around this idea of the self-funding candidate. We have seen this with a former mayor of New York. We've seen this here in Los Angeles with the candidate running against our sister Karen Bass. I mean, we've seen the self-funding candidate all the time in this country, and many people are wondering, is this the time to, how far will this particular trend, especially among Republicans in the GOP side of things, how far will this trend go? What do you make of that?
You know, it's a situation where you start to make politics, you remove politics from everybody. You know, if I can just come in and write a check, the National Party may not necessarily see me as a good example because I can't fund my own campaign just by going to the bank.
Right.
But we have to make sure we're putting up good candidates. We have to make sure we're putting up diverse candidates, be it diverse in race, be it diverse in gender, be it diverse in experience. We have to make sure, especially on the Democratic side, not necessarily on the Republican side, they can put up whoever they want to, and it's always a mess. But on the Democratic side, we have to make sure we represent the party of America. We look like America, and we have to make sure we're putting up candidates that will look like America, not just the money that America has. And so I think what we're gonna run into a situation, and this is literally the head of the pimple on this one. We have to see which way we want to go. Maryland again has one of the most diverse states in the nation. It is primed and set to go forward in the 21st century. But we have to decide: do you want another wealthy white guy? Or do you want the first black woman senator from the state of Maryland? And
I'm glad you brought that up, bro, because at the end of the day, and we've seen different archetypes of this. We've seen like a candidate like a President Barack Obama, who didn't come in with money. You know, when he ran for Senate in the state of Chicago, in the state of Illinois, you know, he's kind of had this groundswell grassroots movement that was happening there. And then, of course, he ascended to the presidency. But then, like I said, you have like a Michael Bloomberg. You had others who come in and they just throw money on the table. Even in some cases, even looking at former President Donald Trump, who tried to throw money, well, somebody else's money in that case, but throw that money on the table. And the one thing that I've often heard, especially among black voters, is that there's this idea that if somebody comes in with the money, if they're coming from the corporate sector and coming from a private sector into the public sector, that they must know what to do. They ran this multi-million-dollar business, so they must know what to do in terms of a country. And I always push back on that, Chris. I always push back on that just because I'm saying running a business for profit it requires a different set of skills than serving the American people. Yes, America is a business because of the capitalistic system that we live in. I get that. But there's still a component of public service that is still present that you still have to have. You have to have that skill set. You have to understand the politics. You have to understand how the political system is, because you cannot just pay your way through. The agenda is not that simple. It's not that black and white. Talk to me. What's your take on that?
We've had some really amazing candidates in the past,
right,
who have been, very financially wealthy. FDR, JFK,
right.
Even here in Wisconsin, Senator Herb Kohl. He owned the Milwaukee Bucks before he sold them after he retired from the U.S. Senate. We've had personally wealthy people who have come and done a great job.
Right.
But we've also had people who have come from the private sector to the public sector and done things that have not always worked out well. Prime example, of the two presidents that we've had who had MBAs, both of them led us into recessions. Herbert Hoover and Donald Trump. I don't think we need to continue that path always. A businessman is not necessarily the person.
Hey, and I agree. I don't know if we can throw Donald Trump in there. I mean, he might got the paper, but.
Well, it's business. Money goes where the money goes.
Right.
But
no, I get your point. I got your point. Right.
Me personally, I'd rather somebody from the sector of politics. I don't want a person I don't want a salesman as my dentist. I don't want an astronaut driving my backhoe. I want a farmer to be on a farm. I want an astronaut in space. I want a businessman on Wall Street, and I want a president in Washington, D.C. Hey, that's just me. Call me old-fashioned.
Hey, no, I'm not going to call you old-fashioned, because if I call you old-fashioned, I'll be a hypocrite, because I want the same thing, brother. You know what I'm saying? I want the same thing. But I do think that it is interesting that it seems to be the greater part of the criteria versus public service, right? We're looking at the dollars and cents of things, right? And I think that's the problem. That if dollars and cents of course, obviously, this is America. But there's still a person to person, there's still a human element to politics, right? And if you would have explained the story of Barack Obama to any particular politician who have come out of the private sector, they would say this guy never has a chance. But what brought him there? It wasn't the money. It was the fact of his ability to connect with people, his ability to understand what people were going through, right? The empathy, the heart. And then more importantly, I think to his credit, he was actually trying to do something for people. He wanted to serve the public. And so when we're looking at that, I don't want us to, as we're going through this political season, to lose sight of that, right? Because we tend to think, Chris, that it's all about the dollars and cents or the tangibles that are on the table. And I want to kind of get your take on this. How do we make sure that as much as those tangibles are important to have, how do we make sure that the intangibles about having a certain character, the quality of the heart, having a person that wants to serve the people and not see people as a profit, but see people as potentials to add to where we are in this country, how do we shift the thinking from that? Because that's just not because of a particular candidate. I think that's ingrained in our culture that we see people as a dollar sign. I think it's ingrained in a lot of the things that we do. How do we shift from that?
And that's a very excellent question, honestly. And before we get to that question, don't forget President Obama had Michelle also.
Oh, and absolutely.
Yeah, Michelle. Now, Michelle,
right. She took a lot of hits for that man, though. Let's keep it real. She took a lot of hits for that man.
She did, but she threw out some great ones, too.
Oh, yeah, bro.
So, you can't forget Michelle. But, as a political person, as a history buff, I fell in love with politics when I was 9 years old.
Right.
Watching some of the people who become president, we've had presidents who couldn't read. We've had presidents who were literally were born in log cabins. And we've had presidents who were born in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
All of them, though, especially the good ones, have had that common thread of, I'm here to do the right thing. Right. It's not necessarily about me. Of course, I want to see myself do well. But my job as your president, as your leader, is to be a public servant, to serve you, to make your life easier. If you get up every single day and your first thought is, how can I make somebody smile today? How can I make somebody's life a little bit better?
Yeah.
Somebody has a home to go to. Somebody has a school to graduate from. Somebody has a hospital to be saved with. That's a leader. That's a public servant. That's who we need in these roles. Not me. Not it's all about me. Not I'm the only one who can fix this. That's not how this works. Not for a leader. Not for the president of the United States. Not for a mayor, a governor, a senator, a congressman. The dog catcher. The dog catcher's job is to every day get up and catch a dog so it can prevent that dog from biting your kid, maybe. And that's about public service.
Right.
We've seen excellent public services. We're currently seeing a good president who is doing a lot of public service, be it infrastructure, be it climate, be it literally working to save lives.
Yeah.
We've also seen his opponent, me.
And here's the crazy part. And I know we got to take a quick pause. The crazy part is, as much as you see those deep those major differences between these two men, it's still considered to be anyone's race at this point, Chris. It's still considered to be anyone's race.
Yeah.
And as much as great as you explained this, it's still considered to be anyone's race. And that's the crazy part. You have a person who's literally sitting in a courtroom, day 17 of a trial about hush money, a porn star, covering up payments to his, all of this stuff, and he is really being considered as the next president of the United States of America. What the hell is going on?
I've been asking myself that since 2015.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris.
America loves reality TV.
Hey,
that's
man.
Really think of.
And that's why we got Areva Martin in real time, because that's how we doing it. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we'll continue the conversation with Democratic strategist Chris Walton. Folks, we are just getting started. We're talking a little bit about the primaries of Nebraska, West Virginia, Maryland, and, of course, politics in general. But we're also going to talk a little bit about the 70th anniversary of the historic Brown versus Board of Education decision. Stay with us. It's Areva Martin in real time. I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad, and you're tuned into KBLA 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Washington, D.C.'s mayor is getting negative reviews from local residents in a new poll. The Washington Post reported that Black Mayor Muriel Bowser's approval rating in a new poll has dropped to 46%. That compares to an approval rating of 58% in the 2022 poll. Poll respondents criticized the mayor for her handling of crime, public safety, and education. The mayor called the poll results a report card on a particular moment in time and said her administration will still work hard to deliver results regardless of what the polls say. Today marks 2 years since the deadly Buffalo, New York supermarket shooting. On May 14, 2022, a man opened fire, killing 9 shoppers and a security guard in what officials say was a random, racially motivated attack. The victims killed were all African American. Yesterday, officials unveiled the design for the multi-million-dollar memorial to honor the victims. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Crash now in the Sepulveda Pass on the southbound 405 right before Mulholland. The right-hand lane is blocked off with some minor backups starting about Valley Vista. A crash still sitting in Calabasas on the 101 southbound before Valley Circle. That is in the right-hand lane, so you're backed up to Lost Hills. Heading through Diamond Bar, crash moved out of lanes on the 57 southbound at Grand. That one's now on the right-hand shoulder, as is this crash in Long Beach on the 91 eastbound at the 710. Again, that one's not in lanes anymore. It's over to that shoulder. And they completely wrapped up a crash in Baldwin Park off the northbound 605 right before Valley Boulevard, but it's still a pretty heavy drive coming away from the 105.
A word from Original Taco Pete, where Tuesdays are all about $2 tasty black tacos. Join us today and every day at 3272 West Slauson Ave off Crenshaw, or order through Grubhub, Uber Eats, or OriginalTacoPete.com.
Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale is here. Save up to $500 on select adjustable bed sets like the all-new Temper Adapt collection with advanced pressure relief to help reduce aches and pains. Plus, get a $300 instant gift for pillows and more. Hurry into Mattress Firm today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A highly anticipated WNBA season tips off today with 4 games on the schedule. The two-time defending champion Las Vegas Aces are at home tonight against the Phoenix Mercury. The LA Sparks open up Wednesday night. They'll be at home against the Atlanta Dream. The game will be played at the Pyramid at Long Beach State. 7 p.m. tip-off. Tiger Woods is getting in some practice rounds in preparation for the PGA Championships. The PGA starts Thursday in Louisville. 4 of Tiger's 15 major titles have come at the PGA. Tiger hasn't won a major event since the Masters in 2019. Injuries have the 47-year-old Tiger in a slump. He hasn't had a top 20 finish in his last 15 tournaments. Important day for Bronny James. Today is the first day LeBron's son competed in 5-on-5 scrimmages at the NBA Scouting Combine in Chicago. Details on Bronny's performance tomorrow. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Environmental justice is racial justice.
Environmental justice is social justice.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertiri Plessy. Nefertiri felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, folks, welcome back to Areva Martin in real time. I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad, sitting in for my big sister. We're checking in with Democratic strategist Chris Walton as we talk a little bit of politics and so much more. Again, folks, if you're in the states of Nebraska, West Virginia, and Maryland, I hope you had a chance to vote today in your presidential and congressional primaries. And there are some local races that are happening in those states as well. So I hope you went out, got involved, got empowered, got engaged, and I hope you went out and vote. Right, Chris? That's what we want people to do on a primary day. We want them to vote.
Exactly. Get out there and vote now. It's a practice run. If you get there and practice it now, by the time we get to November, you'll be ready to go again and knock out Donald Trump.
There it is. Okay. Hey, let me just ask you this though, Chris, and I know I want to shift gears, get your take on some of the conversations and the events happening around the 70th anniversary of the the Brown versus Board of Education decision. But in terms of voting, and for people to understand that it's not just about one race, one election, it is really about making sure that we stay consistent. What do you say to those who say, and I get it, trust me, look, I get it. I get it. Chris and I understand. I get it. But what do you say to folks that say, you know what, my vote doesn't matter, we're in this conundrum, we're still back here again, this is an old rerun that I don't want to binge watch?
Well, finish the job. So the problem that we run into every 4, 8, 12 years or so, we get a Democratic president. We get a Democratic Congress. We know there's going to be a filibuster, and the Republicans aren't let them get everything that they want done. Then we get to a midterm, and we say, well, we didn't get everything we wanted, so I'm just not going to vote. When do you ever get everything you wanted? But, at the same time, everything is politics.
Yeah.
Up and down the ballot is important. The mayor, the alder, the city council, the county board, the state superintendent, every single race is important because everything that you do is politics.
Absolutely.
From the tag on your pillow that says it is against the law to remove it, to whether your water runs well, to whether you have electricity, to whether you have firefighters who can come and put out that fire if it happens, to the police departments that you are actually you pay for, the DA you pay for, the school you pay for. All of this is politics. Every single office is important. You have to vote. It is so serious because the votes you cast today, the votes you cast in 2016 still has power because those votes in 2016 got us Donald Trump that appointed 3 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. They got rid of reproductive freedom, and now here we are in 2024 fighting for the right to have an abortion. Here we are because of those votes. Here we are because of votes of the 1988 election. Because the 1988 election elected the first President Bush, which had got Clarence Thomas as the replacement for Thurgood Marshall. We have to realize, even though those presidents made those appointments, the Senate has to confirm those appointments. Even though we may not have the funding for something, the House has to fund this. All funding bills come out of the House of Representatives. All tax bills come out of the House of Representatives. The president is not the end-all, be-all. When it gets to the president, it's about nuclear weapons. Do you want Donald Trump to have access to nuclear weapons? Do you want your property taxes raised for lower-income, working-class families? Or do you want the rich to pay fairly? Do you want to be able to go to school? Do you want to be able to get your student loans taken care of? President Biden actually put things in place to try to get student loans canceled. The Republican Supreme Court majority that Donald Trump created, he knocked that down. So don't blame President Biden for not getting it done. Be mad at the people you should be mad at. Stand with the people that stand with you. That's your state legislature. That's your governor. That's your state senators. You need to vote. You absolutely have to vote and know where everybody stands. And it's not just a single issue. On every single issue looking up and down the ballot, every single one, there are candidates that are going to be supporting issues that you support, and there are candidates that will be against issues that you are against. I guarantee you, more of them are going to be Democrats than Republicans. But I need you to look and listen and actually do that research, not just on TikTok. TikTok and Twitter are not the real world.
Come on, man. Come on, Chris.
Get out there and read.
Chris.
Read real things. talk to real people, listen to real media, and then make a educated decision about who you want to lead your city,
Absolutely.
your county,
Yeah.
state, and your nation.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears a little bit as we're talking about standing with those who stand with you. Today, there was a special event that was held by the Biden administration in honoring those black students. And I said in my opening remarks, Chris, that the state of education in America came down to one group of people, black children. Progressive, innovative education in America came down to being on the shoulders of black children, not just in Little Rock, but all over this country, where black children use their minds and, more importantly, put their bodies in harm's way to integrate a school system, to seek educational equity and inclusion. They are the trailblazers of the educational movement, one of the greatest educational movements of this country's history. It came down to black children. Today, the administration held an event in honor of those who dedicated themselves, in honor of those black children who stood up against racism and hatred, as we marked the 70th anniversary of the historic Brown versus Board of Education decision. And they had some remarks said, and I know we got to take a quick pause, but when we come forward, Chris, I want to kind of get your take on this, because of the simple fact that that decision opened up the place that we're in right now. But more importantly, it was that decision that took us to a different place of America, and I want to kind of get your take on that. So, folks, stay with us. It's Areva Martin in real time, special guest host Farajii Muhammad, right here on KBLA 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
This is DIR Silica, spot title, in California, 32nd English Radio, ISKI code DSIC 0430, April 30th, 2024.
In California, the use of man-made stone is causing workers to get silicosis. Silicosis is a fatal disease caused by breathing in silica dust from cutting, polishing, or grinding man-made stone. To prevent silicosis, employers must provide their workers proper equipment, including water systems and NIOSH-approved respirators. Stop dusty and deadly practices. Learn more at worksafewithsilica.org. This is a message from Cal OSHA.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, folks, this is your special guest host Farajii Muhammad, checking in with Democratic strategist Chris Walton as we talk a little bit about politics and history and so much more. This Friday will mark the 70th year of anniversary of the historic Brown versus Board of Education decision. This is the case that the NAACP Legal Defense Fund says is the case that transformed America. It was on May 17, 1954, when that historic landmark ruling came down, declaring the separate but equal doctrine unconstitutional and essentially marking a new standard for American education. I want to play for you what Attorney General Merrick Garland had to say about this landmark decision. As we know, he is the head of the Department of Justice, and talking about what impact this particular decision had on not just the American educational system, but for all of America. Take a listen.
For those students and for our country, the decision in Brown represented a promise that this would be a nation where students of all races and backgrounds could learn together in the same classrooms and the same schools. And a promise that our schools would not only teach students about the principle that underlies our democracy, that we are all equal under the law, but that they would embody it. But in the wake of the court's decision, it became clear that the words of the justices would not be sufficient to ensure the integration of our nation's schools. As members of Congress urged states to, quote, resist forced integration by any lawful means, and governors barred schoolhouse doors, the task primarily fell to black children. Some no more than 5 or 6 years old, whose only wish was to go to school. Among those students were 3 6-year-old girls who, together with Ruby Bridges, would later become part of the group known.
And that was Attorney General Merrick Garland. Chris, what do you make of what the Attorney General had to say about this, that even though that decision was made, there was still a resistance against forced integration? Talk to me. What's your take on that?
We're still seeing that live in the living color today. You know, I had a chance when I went to college. I went to Mississippi State University in Mississippi, and there are still the quote unquote academy school systems in Mississippi, where a lot of the local kids attend those public schools that we were trying to integrate. Their families, the white kids' families, pulled them out and put those in private Christian academies. You know, it's an underhanded way of saying, yeah, no, we're not gonna be with you all. We don't care what we have to do to separate you, but we'll pull all of our kids out of these schools. This is still happening. If you look today, schools are more segregated now than they even were back then.
And why you say that, Chris? Why you say that?
Well, the reports. There are reports showing this about schools being more segregated. If you look at the funding mechanisms, if you look at the actual racial breakdowns where people live at, schools are as, if not more so, segregated than they were then. And it's really it's one thing when it's just by custom. If you just remove, if you don't live in the south side of Chicago or Philly or north side of Philly, there's going to be a mostly black population in this area. These neighborhood schools are going to be black schools. But if you live in a diverse community, the schools should look like the community.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this stratification of American education. People are on some ends, like the DeVos family, they want to create these school choice, quote unquote, programs that they're having. These school choice programs take out a couple kids from here and there, a couple black kids here. We'll give them scholarships because they know how to play basketball, and we want to win that basketball team. You'll come and pick out a couple of the good ones, quote unquote, but then you leave everybody else behind. You're stratifying it. You're creating a situation where so many kids are still getting left behind.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It's a sad situation, but it is very true also what Attorney General Garland said. On the backs of black children.
On the backs of black children.
No, a lot of these same black children are alive. They are my parents. My parents were some of the first black kids to integrate their schools when they were in elementary school in the 70s in Milwaukee.
Wow.
We have a news clipping of my aunt. She was maybe in kindergarten. She was one of the first black kids to integrate her school.
Wow.
These are my parents. A lot of the footage we see from civil rights era, we think, oh, that's so far back in time. These are our parents. These are our grandparents. These generations ain't 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to look at the fact that and celebrate so many things have come in progress in our grandparents' lives, in our parents' lives. We, this generation, the millennials, and the generation behind us, Gen Z, we have to stand up and fight. We are not going to be just given these victories and just carry them forward. They're not carryable. Every generation has to plant its flag and put its blood into our democracy and moving it forward.
Absolutely.
These wins do not get handed down by like a baton. They get fought for because if you don't stand up and fight, the people who don't want you to have them will stand up and take them. They'll stand up and pull it back. They'll pull your DEI programs. They'll burn your books. They will tell you your history is invaluable, and they will make you think your vote doesn't count when you know it does.
But here's the thing, though, Chris, and we got a few moments left, but here's, I think, the caveat of what happened then 70 years ago versus what's happening now. Then the Supreme Court, even during that period of time of 1954, really relied on, I would say, more on doing its job, right? Like the Supreme Court was like the ultimate voice in American politics. You know, when Congress wasn't on the side of what was debating, when state legislatures were debating, we could take our grievance as black people in this country. We could take our grievance all the way up to the Supreme Court, and there was some sense of hope that the Supreme Court would hear us out, and based upon the laws of this land, would interpret and see us, essentially, right? See us as human beings, even though it's not that in the document of the Constitution, but see us as human beings. Now we're in a different space with this Supreme Court. We have a super conservative court with 6 of those judges being very conservative compared to the other 3. We're in a time where you have a gentleman like a Judge Clarence Thomas who does things that seems to be should disqualify him from sitting on the bench. I mean, there's just a different composition of this court. My concern is you have a Brown versus Board of Education that was resolved, but then when you have other human rights and civil rights issues, that the court may not be the place to go. So where do we go when we have a grievance? It may not be as significant, or in some cases it is, of course, like when you're talking about women reproductive rights and other issues. These things require individuals who are not going to play politics and see the human being that these cases are wrapped around. So what's your take on that? Because I think a lot of big decisions, we saw the big ones coming from affirmative action, We saw, of course, about the abortion. But this is not the same Supreme Court that our grandparents, relied upon. So how do we find justice in the system?
Well, first and foremost, this is the year when we find that justice, and we get that justice. We have to make sure we have a Democratic Congress, House and Senate, a Democratic president who will appoint those judges. Because in the next presidential term, 3 judges, 2 conservatives and 1 liberal, Sonia Sotomayor, will be over the age of 70. We need to make sure that we have a Democratic president. We need to make sure we have Joe Biden possibly appointing those three justices to the court. Do you want Clarence Thomas to get replaced by Donald Trump? Do you want Sonia Sotomayor to get replaced by Donald Trump? We need to make sure we make those decisions very clear. We also need to make sure when we vote, we give a Democratic Senate that power, that even if somehow things go wrong, they can be that block and tackle for us.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we have a Democratic governor and a Democratic member of the House and a Democratic state legislature to push bills that we support, that we can send to our state Supreme Court. Because a lot of state Supreme Court elections are happening this year as well.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we're voting. The federal Supreme Court said the states had a decision. Well, let the states have the decision. Make sure the states are voting, though. Make sure everybody gets out there and casts their votes for that state Supreme Court justice, for that state senator, for that state House of Representatives, so that your voice can be heard at the state level until we can get this fight back to the federal Supreme Court and get this replaced.
Absolutely. Chris, it has been a pleasure, bro. It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you chopping it up with me, talking a little politics, talking to me about this historic time. God willing, we'll reconnect very soon. But I thank you so much, man, for being here with us. This has been our Democratic strategist, Chris Walton. He has over 20 years of experience ranging from local, state, and federal election campaigns, doing some big work in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he's the only black person that served as the county chair in Wisconsin and the first openly gay county chair in Milwaukee history. So you're making history on your own as well, in your own right, brother. So thank you for the great work that you're doing, and God willing, we'll be talking to you very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation talking about the 70th anniversary of Board of Education versus Brown with Dr. Larry Walker right here on Areva Martin in real time on KBLA 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Barbara Furlow Smiles, former head of DEI programs at Facebook and Nike, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for stealing over $5 million from her ex-employers. Prosecutors revealed she abused her access to company credit cards and invoice approvals at both companies. Despite the conviction, she's granted temporary release to spend part of the summer at home before surrendering on July 22nd. A beauty products company is being sued by one of its former store managers in Georgia. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the employee claimed she was fired for not hiring someone with the right